Thank you, Madam, for affording me this opportunity to speak on the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganisation Amendment Bill 2021. I stand to speak in support of the bill. And I'll confine myself to only Section 3 of this amendment bill, which reads, and I quote, in Section 88 of the Principal Act, the subsection 2 to subsection 6, the following subsections shall be substituted, namely, the members of the Indian Administrative Service, Indian Police Service, and Indian Forest Service for the existing cadre of J&K shall be born and become part of the Arunachal Pradesh, Goa, Mizoram, and Union Territories cadre, the AGMAT cadre, and all future allocations of the All India Services officers for the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir and the Union Territory of Ladakh shall be made to AGMAT cadre, for which necessary modification may be made in the corresponding cadre allocation rules by the central government. Madam, this bill, which seeks to amend the J&K Reorganisation Act of 2019, by itself is unexceptional.
Next.
It simply means that once J&K and Ladakh have become UTs, then under the IAS cadre rules of 1954, the merger with the UT cadre is only a logical corollary. This would apply mutatis mutandis to the IPS and IFS cadres as well. So it is not just as if there is a shortage of officers which the government seeks to make up that this particular amendment has been brought about, because that's the argument which especially our Honorable Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary ji was making, कि समय पर याद क्यों नहीं आया कि अफसरों की कमी थी तो यह भी याद क्यों आया. तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, बड़ी व्यवस्था की बात है. It's an institutional thing which simply flows out of the amendment which was of the act which was passed in 2019. Madam, the historic J&K Reorganisation Act of 2019 sought to bring down the curtain on the unfinished agenda of Indian independence. Of all the princely states that had acceded to India with almost a similar instrument of merger, it was only J&K which was accorded a status so special by virtue of Article 370 and Article 35A that instead of bringing J&K into the national mainstream, it fostered over time a feeling of separateness and an identity distinct from the rest of India, a kind of sub-national identity. And this identity is being bandied about by a lot of our friends from the opposition. A lot of identities exist in India. India is a very diverse land. So let us not even talk about distinctiveness of a particular region in India. Almost every region in India has its own distinct identity. Now this led to a vicious cycle of violence and terrorism that threatened India's national security and internal peace. An article that was supposed to be the instrument of J&K's merger into the Indian Union became the reason that prevented this very merger. That this temporary and transitional provision with respect to Jammu and Kashmir had to go at some point was clear to everyone. The incongruity of Ek Desh Mein Do Vidhan, Do Pradhan, Do Nishan was visible to all. But it needed a Shama Prasad Mukherjee to bring it to the national focus. Successive governments in Delhi have sought to dilute the provisions of these articles. It was said that status quo had to be maintained, but status quo is never static. Status quo is active. And that is why the previous governments also sought to dilute these provisions, but none could muster the political will and the courage to overcome the vested interests which had developed over these last 7 decades and do away with the constitutional anomaly. It fell to our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji and our Home Minister Shri Amit Shah ji to pick up this challenge and bring in the J&K Reorganisation Bill 2019 and put this agenda at rest for all times to come. And let there not be any doubt about this issue as far as this country is concerned perhaps stands settled for good. The naysayers and the doomsday advocates were aplenty. But over the last 1.5 years, it is amply clear that a firm leadership backed by a national resolve can help sort out a seemingly intractable problem. Violence is receding, development is on course. और वैसे भी 1.5 साल ही हुआ है, जिसमें 1 साल तो कोरोना खा गया। थोड़ा सब्र रखिए, डेवलपमेंट की भी आपको पूरी झलक और पूरी विस्तार से उसके बारे में मंत्री जी बताएंगे, ऐसा मेरा मानना है। एंड मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंटली, पॉलिटिकल एक्टिविटी इज कमिंग बैक टू नॉर्मल. Democracy and democratic form of governance is taking center stage again, which was evidenced in the successful conduct of the DDC, District Development Council elections. And I must congratulate all the parties which otherwise have opposed the reorganizational bill, were all party to these elections. And now this amendment, specifically dealing with the All India services. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel in the Constituent Assembly discussions in 1949 had stated, and I quote, "The Union will go. You will not have a united India if you have not a good All India service." Unquote. I agree that this was said when Indian state was in its infancy, and there were various vociferous tendencies which were at work. But then the UTs of J&K and Ladakh are newly created administrative entities. I agree that hitherto there was an All India service. There were All India services which are working in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, but now a fresh beginning has to be made. As was said by many other speakers also, there are so many laws, almost 170 of them, which need implementation in that state. In any case, it must be recognized that there is a severe deficit of All India services officers in Jammu and Kashmir. I'll give just one example. Dr. Satyapal Singh also referred to this. Against sanctioned strength of 137 in the Indian Administrative Service, only 58 are in place. And out of these 58 also, only 41 are in Jammu and Kashmir after adjusting for those on deputation. So this whole talk that 50%, which was the state civil services, which were filling up the All India services ranks, it should be maintained and not reduced to 33. We can see from the facts in front of us what the state of the civil services there is. And this is evidently on account of conditions that have prevailed in the state for decades. In spite of its natural charms, the state of Jammu and Kashmir was not a preferred option for young officers. And I bear testimony to this because I come from one of these administrative services. Another example I'll give. The Agmut cadre, which consists of 3 states and 6 union territories, now 8 with the inclusion of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, has almost 290 IAS officers with them. And except Delhi in terms of population and Arunachal in terms of size, all these other states and union territories are fairly small. Chandigarh, a city which I had the honor of serving as Deputy Commissioner, is just about 12 lakh population and has a spread of about 15 kilometers by 14 kilometers. But it has 12 IAS officers and almost half a dozen IPS officers manning the services there. After the passing of this bill, the UTs of J&K and Ladakh will have access to this pool of All India Services officers that are allocated to Agmat cadre. Furthermore, officers promoted to the All India Services from J&K state services will be exposed to other parts of the country. An argument was given that why should outsiders be welcome in a state? Well, this is a very old argument and it's been settled for good. At the time of independence also, All India Services are meant to cater to the requirements of the nation building and the progress and development of the nation, and that is why this service has the kind of traction which it still does. मैं उदाहरण देना चाहूँगा, जब मैं चंडीगढ़ में था, चंडीगढ़ में DSPs जो हैं, DSPs SP नहीं बनना चाहते, क्योंकि SP बनने के लिए उन्हें IPS के लिए प्रमोट होना पड़ेगा. And IPS promote होने का मतलब they will be part of the Agmut cadre, and so they will be transferable to all the other union territories and the states which are covered under Agmut cadre. So let us not get into this argument कि local आदमी कोई बहुत ज़्यादा उसकी commitment है, उसके क्षेत्र के प्रति, उसके प्रदेश के प्रति ज़रूर होगी, लेकिन administratively जो सत्यपाल जी ने कहा था कि खड़ा पानी जो है वो एक समय के बाद सड़ना शुरू हो जाता है, इसलिए उसमें प्रवाह रहना बहुत जरूरी है और उसके अंदर नया पानी मिलता रहना चाहिए. Madam, I'll just take 2 more minutes. Also, the availability of increased number of officers with diverse and vast administrative experiences and expertise and proven caliber can definitely help improve the administration and administration of these newly formed UTs in these challenging times and speed up their economic development. और एक और फायदा यूटी काडर में होने का ये है, because of their access to government of India, they will have access to excess funds. That is what the general practice is in almost all the union territories. And needless to say that the development of officers to and from across the country to J&K and Ladakh will also help integration of J&K with the rest of the country. I'm not one of those who is a votary that all India services are the steel frame of India. Our steel frame is our constitution, it's our democracy and the cultural ethos which is our steel frame, but Indian civil services do play their part, and there is no denying that post-independence the All India services have brought about a sense of stability, administrative uniformity, and a sense of belonging to a single unifying entity called India. Surely this is only but one element of the larger picture, but an important one nonetheless. It will take time, patience, huge amounts of administrative skill and political wisdom to achieve J&K's integration with the Indian Union, politically, administratively and emotionally. But it's a worthy endeavor that we must all strive for. Sir, with these words, I seek the support of this august House to pass this bill. Thank you.